We have returned for what may be our last episode of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. So today is December
22nd.
22nd, 3 days before Christmas, y'all. And
Ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays.
I am one of your co-hosts, Alice.
And I am Madam.
And today we'll be talking about something that is very specific to the woman, the Black narrative, or the narrative of the Black woman. And with that being said, Madam, if you would just like to, kind of tell us what was the inspiration for this episode? What were you thinking when these questions, or better yet, what inspired the topic of today's episode?
Well, I feel like we have multiple topics to today's episodes, or maybe even
But one
subtopics.
general theme, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which does surround the Black woman and women in general. And I think it just really comes from, I guess for me here late, I've been around a lot of women lately.
Okay.
And just kind of like having these conversations and like I was telling you earlier, like yesterday, sitting with Cuzzo and having these conversations too.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like they're not talked about a lot, you know?
It's not comfortable.
It's not comfortable, but it's necessary.
For sure.
Because if we don't start somewhere, where we going?
I just saw Quisha. That was such a Quisha mannerism, the facial expression and everything.
Yeah.
Quisha, I miss you, girl.
She asks about you all the time. She asked about you yesterday.
I be thinking about her all the time. Quisha has such a beautiful spirit and aura. Mm-hmm. And when she smiled, when I say cheekbones for days and beautiful teeth, bliss. God was like magic on Quisha.
Yeah.
I love her. I can't wait to see her again.
It'll be soon. It'll be real soon.
And then she got that warm Cancer energy like my mom.
Listen, something that'll hold you tight and squeeze you right. I'm just saying.
Okay, I'm done gushing on Quisha.
Well, she gonna love this.
Okay.
She gonna love this.
We were talking about Black women in our theme, and women in general in our theme today. So one of the questions is about, do you want to hop into autoimmune diseases, or do you want to start somewhere else?
Let's do it. Let's hop into the autoimmune diseases.
So as someone who has autoimmune diseases, I know the correlation that Eastern medicine kind of gives us, because we know Western medicine is all about the body, treating the symptom, don't really tie that back into spiritual or mental health, right? Or even emotional health.
Exactly.
Which is what they do in Eastern medicine, right? Mm-hmm. They say autoimmune diseases are usually connected with people who are caretakers and just give too much, do too much.
Or who carry too much.
Exactly.
AKA the weight, the burdens of others, not just themselves, but those that they love and those that they, feel responsible for even. It's heavy. It's heavy. And it's funny because I was talking to Kui about this yesterday too. If I made the analogy and I said, if you are a carpenter and you've been building this same 700 square foot house for 20 years, meaning you carry the lumber, the wood, the nails, the tools, and all of that. You've been doing this for 20 years. Versus somebody like me who don't build houses, building a 700 square foot house, I'm gonna be like, man, this is heavy. This lumber is heavy. This got some weight to it. I might not be able to carry it. But someone who's been doing it for 20 years and carrying it for 20 years don't even realize that it's heavy because they've been carrying it so long. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that it's not heavy. You've just been carrying it for so long.
It's your default.
I exactly. And so I made that analogy and I made that point just to emphasize that, and then maybe this can transfer into different areas, but just because we are accustomed to carrying something or doing something in a negative way or a toxic way or something that's not beneficial to the body's essence, right? Mind, body, heart, soul. Doesn't mean that that's not a justification, you know, to keep doing it or to not make a change or to not reevaluate some things.
But some people are born with a lot of weight to carry.
We're gonna get into that too.
Like it's not like it's so much like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, you can put that down. I was born with this weight.
And a lot of people are. We
That's why putting it down feels so unfamiliar. And it's just like, oh, even though my life is better when I put some of the burdens or some of the weight down, even if it's by means of, okay, I'm going to have boundaries now, that'll feel very unfamiliar to some people.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's another reason why I believe so much in the reincarnation process.
Okay.
Because if that is true, then whatever we have been through or served through in our previous life or the lifetime before that or before that or before that, we carry it, we keep carrying it over until we no longer reincarnate.
So there's something
If it's,
similar.
you know,
Are you familiar with Gary Zukov?
I've heard, yes.
So there's this book called Seed of the Soul, and he gets very specific about how we, not how we look, but the way we choose to manifest into the world, right?
Right.
So he says there's something that you can only experience, that your soul or essence needs to experience by the way that you look. Like there is only a lesson I can learn by being a Black woman, and that's why I have manifested into as
being,
such.
yeah.
Right. And so it's funny. Like if we're born carrying all these things, and some of us are even born coming out the womb with autoimmune diseases. So like that's just the interesting concept to say through reincarnation. Oh, I could have been carrying something all along.
Yeah, I think so. In the astrological realm of things, they say that we kind of like choose what lessons or what burdens or whatever we want to deal with or bring with us for
Or not choose.
or not choose. Right.
Whatever you were supposed to learn and you
Right.
didn't, you just gonna keep
Ignoring
keep
it.
at it.
Yeah.
It's gonna
right.
keep at you until
Like,
you
nah, I don't want to deal with that in this lifetime, but I'll deal with this one. Go ahead and add that to my shopping list or whatever.
one thing at a time.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I mean by that. But I think that is a very interesting concept, and I mean, I feel like it makes sense based on what we know today and what we go through.
I feel like we may have left a gap here for some folks because we know each other so well and we know like what we're talking about so well. But I'm going to explain to other people in case you don't know what it is that we're getting at. When we're talking about weight and things that you carry. For example, if you've been a
And
caretaker.
before you do that, tell the folks with this fine, smooth, I don't remember what it's called.
I don't know if we should do that. They not paying us. But I'm going to do it just because I'm a liquor connoisseur. This is Blanton's, which is highly allocated in the state of Texas and very fucking delicious. And
Cheers.
it's smooth, which is why we are drinking this.
I only wanted you to shout it out so that they can cups up.
So they know we're not the same. It's expensive.
It is.
Let me stop. Okay.
It is expensive.
Yes, where was I? So basically, we're trying to explain to you. It's like, what the fuck? What y'all mean? What is this metaphysical heavy shit y'all talking about? You know? Okay. Sometimes we are given roles and expectations other than just that are default of the human experience in my eyes. Sure. Sometimes we are born to try to heal other people's mother wounds, father wounds. Sometimes these expectations and intent are so strong that the child has come out with this intended resume that they have. Your life is no longer ask yourself this, and we all carry some shit.
Yeah.
Right? We all carry
No
some
one is
shit.
without.
No one's without things. But one very simple question you can ask yourself, am I living my life to figure out what my purpose is for here and what makes me happy? If the answer is yes, then you're doing okay. But for a lot of people, the answer is not
It's
yes.
not yes.
They're doing so many things other than pursuing what their life's purpose is, other than pursuing what gives them joy. And that's heavy because when you think about it at the end of your life, you're going to say, what did I do with it? And if you were too busy taking care of somebody else, too busy taking care of somebody else to the point where you couldn't do the things that lit you up on the inside, that's very heavy. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of your life, when you may be too old to execute or do the things, that's going to be resentment.
Sure.
So you're carrying it now, you may not realize you're carrying it. Mm. Meaning, like, some people just have this weight, like, for example, older kids, like, it's just say it's 4 or 5 kids. The older kid always feels the brunt of having to take care of everybody, even though it may not be their responsibility.
The older kid is normally parentified.
Exactly.
And that's a thing, the eldest daughter.
Yes, the eldest kid.
And that's actually how I was coming around to that topic.
Yeah.
About the autoimmune and whatnot. It's very common that in the eldest child, they end up with a discovery of some type of autoimmune issue or disease, which is not linked to the principle of being parentified or being a parentified child. Not in Western medicine, at least.
But even in that, let's just say you're not a one of many for a child, but you've still been parentified because your mother overshares with you. There's enmeshment between parents and codependent relationships are weight.
Heavy.
Codependent relationships are weight, and that's weight you don't want to have.
But it's so easy to slip into a codependent relationship as a child and a parent.
Yeah.
Because
it's just y'all. There's a possibility that it could just be y'all two.
Or it could just be y'all's two within a family dynamic. Parents tend to isolate children into different boxes.
Yeah, I'm going to go back
to
what
they need.
But this was important. Back to relationship gumbo. All full circle. Do you have an A or H relationship? Okay, listen, y'all see this
A's or H's.
If you take this little middle bar connecting the two parts of the A, we collapse.
It falls.
I don't want to be in an A relationship with nobody. Absolutely nobody. H is only, meaning we are individual and whole individual,
meaning but we can stand on our own.
We can stand on our own. Think about the anatomy of the letter H. But when we come together, we can make something even better. I don't want to be dependent on nobody.
Sure.
I can stand just fine by myself, not meaning that I'm hyper independent. I have community and love, but what I'm saying is I have healthy boundaries.
Right.
People who don't have healthy boundaries, that is a form of weight. Codependent relationships are the worst form of weight. What are some other forms of weight?
We can put weight
things
on
you
ourselves.
Carry.
Yeah. People pleasing is another heavy one.
Expectations.
Yeah. Guilt. I was gonna make that a topic too, but I was like, it might be a little heavy today.
We're talking about weight. Guilt is really heavy.
But guilt is extremely heavy, and guilt is tricky. Guilt is tricky to me in a way that grief is tricky. Like, it can really just slip up on you, for real. You don't really get a precedence, right? That grief is getting ready to knock on the door, or guilt is getting ready to knock on the door. It just slip on under the crack and be like, hey, I'm here.
I feel
and then
guilt.
sometimes it slip up back underneath the crack and be gone, and you be great again, and then it slip back in. Like it just be doing a lot of slipping.
Guilt and shame are so heavily linked. But I think
What would be the
guilt
difference
and
between
grief
guilt
are
and-
different.
They are.
Like they're different because sometimes grief does just hit you. Like, damn, I can't call that person. I can't. It may not even be somebody that you're grieving, but grief hits you sporadically, and I think it'll hit you all the time.
Trust me, I know.
I think yes. I think guilt is always just kind of there. I think sometimes people get accustomed to turning a blind eye to guilt. Because I know when something is causing me shame or guilt, it's always there. It's just I'm not always looking at it.
And that's why I say it slips like grief. Because yeah, we know it's always there, but the fact that we know that it's always there, we don't pay attention in the face of like, let me deal with it.
I think
it'll slip
sometimes
up on you
we're at
and be
peace.
like, oh, you gonna deal with this today on a random day that just seems so inopportune.
I think sometimes we're at peace with loss though. I think the pain of missing something sometimes sneak up on us. But I think a lot of people sometimes they make peace with being at loss, with losing something quicker than they'll be to say I'm ashamed or I feel guilty for something.
Guilt is also normally put on you by other external factors.
Exactly, because
and then
people
we take
pleasing.
it on
Yeah.
and own it as our own, even though it's really not.
I want to talk about Black women for a second.
Sure.
Because we're so amazing. But we just take on way too fucking much. Whether you have kids or don't have kids, I know so many Black women that are just carrying things that
Shouldn't be.
God damn it. If we wasn't too busy trying to carry everybody else. I feel like Black women are the foundation for so many people and so many things.
And advocates.
Like why are we the highest demographic of lupus in an autoimmune disease? Why are we the highest demographic for childbirth mortality rates? Like, and it's easier said than done because so many generations have done it.
And
Great grandmothers, mothers, grandmas, everybody just carrying shit that's not ours to carry. But we feel responsible.
Not only do we feel responsible, we've made to be responsible. And
yes.
then when you say, oh no, sorry, that was a miscommunication. That's not mine to carry. They look at you like, what you mean? How dare you?
Because
why wouldn't you show up or advocate or fix X, Y, and Z for this person, that person, or this thing or that thing? Who else is gonna do it if you don't do it? And see, that's the problem right there.
It's just because nobody else want to do it.
Right. The expectation isn't put on anybody else. Not for real. Is it? Oh, okay. I was just wondering. Now, I do want to throw in there, since we did talk about the Eastern and the Western medicines, for those that don't know how the emotions are stored in the organs or show up in the organs or whatever, since we did mention that. And so when we're talking about the organs, we're talking about the liver, the heart, the lungs,
the skin,
the skin. Oh yes, the skin. Eczema.
The skin is the largest organ.
Yeah. And it's probably the most permeable organ too.
Yeah, heck
so that's the exchange of the things that what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. The kidneys, and all of that. So for the kidneys, that what's stored there is fear and the feeling of being weak. And then the liver, what's stored there is worry. Yeah. And then the heart is joy. The caveat to that is stress, obviously.
Because stress is the antithesis of joy.
Right. And then for the lungs, it's grief. Isn't that interesting? And I know the spleen has one too. I think the spleen is also worry. Anger and resentment falls under the liver as well.
So-
Shock even falls under the heart.
Anger and resentment, a lot of alcoholics, substance abuse.
You see
Yeah.
that relation?
Mm-hmm.
The heart also has vulnerability and shock. So when you think about cardiac arrest and things like that, the spleen also talks about worry and obsessive thinking. Also with the lungs, sadness falls under there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sadness?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sadness. So it's interesting to me just how much disease are in those organs, especially in our community. And I can even think about people in my own life who have issues with these organs. Maybe not all of them simultaneously.
What
but
is
certain
most
ones.
prevalent in the Black community? Heart disease,
Heart disease
cholesterol.
and liver.
Yeah.
Heart, kidneys, and liver.
And cancers of all
So
sorts.
if that's the case, then we're talking about anger,
stress,
stress, fear, and what was the other one? Worry.
mm-hmm. Excessive worry, I think that's what you said.
Yeah. Anger, stress, fear, and worry.
There's so much, but that's not. If we think about even the 5 to 6 generations ago, and if we think about epigenetics, which we won't get into too much of that, if it's true that even fears and psychological traumas are passed down, we are predisposed.
Yeah.
We are predisposed.
We're living the fears and the traumas of our slave ancestors.
But then, but even
That's how far,
that's
it
how
goes.
guard. That's what I mean with epigenetics and psychological traumas that could be passed down. But also what I'm saying is that those fears are still relevant today. You turn on the TV every other week, it seems like, somebody getting shot. And somebody else will go without receiving justice. I think all of us carry, even if we're not aware of it, carry like psychological weight from George Floyd, from
I
all
was just
of
about
the
to bring that up because I wonder when you said
Trayvon
that.
Martin. Like that's a
Yeah.
psychological weight that we can't
Breonna
heal.
Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
It makes me wonder if there was a spike or a peak in issues with those organs around that time, because that really did put our whole community like
In a state of unrest.
unrest, like terribly.
It's like
We
damn.
were scared to just go to the mailbox. We were
But-
scared to go in the gas station and pay for your gas or get a bottle of water or a slush or from 7-Eleven, whatever, just to walk in there because everybody was just on edge because it was literally like you couldn't walk out your house without feeling like somebody was watching you and they was waiting to just aim something at you.
We can't heal from something that we're still subject to. The civil rights movement didn't even happen over 100 years ago. So just think about that. Was it in the 60s?
Yeah,
We
so
far
that
from the
was
60s.
very much.
We a couple decades and some change from the 60s, a few decades and some change from the 60s. So it hasn't even been 100 years yet.
Not even a centennial.
And that's a wound of America that I think a lot of people are not willing to realize is still fresh. And that's weight. on all of these, on all of this.
It is.
Like me
It
myself,
is.
and I didn't, just talking about whenever I go into the Asian hair stores as a grown ass woman who makes money and pays all my bills, I still keep my hands out of my pockets because I don't ever want to be accused of stealing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what like my parents taught me. They know they didn't raise a thief, but they know that by virtue of what I look like,
We are
that
stereotyped
we're
to be
yes,
thieves and degenerates and illiterate and
all these other
all these
things.
other
So it's
things.
like even when I go into places like Asian owned beauty supplies and stuff like that, I'm like, let me keep my hands, let me be cautious of where my bag is. And that's just like, I put that as a part of how I was raised because my parents didn't want me to have to go through unnecessary trouble.
Not only that, don't let me stay in here too long.
Don't let me stay in here. Exactly.
I need to get in and get out. Literally.
I came in here for perm rods. Let me get in and
yeah.
get the fuck out. I don't need to be browsing in this store
Yeah.
where they already watching us.
And it's even worse when you have, and I don't know if this ever happened to you before, but when they follow you around the store.
Exactly. And so
They
like,
ain't gonna be right up on you, but they about right there.
yeah.
Following you around the whole time. Or you walk in and let's say it's some other black folk some other folk in there that's not black, but they only ask you, oh, can I help you find something? What are you in for today? But you not drilling them.
It's the microaggressions. And trust me, like part of the weight that I carry is being a black woman in corporate America because I feel like a fucking fraud from 9 to 5. Baby, I'm so black off the clock.
Back to that code switching.
Baby, I think we're being burnt out from code switching is such dangerous waters to be because that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. And so I be trying to keep my black ass at home. They be like, why you don't come into the office? It's best I don't. I'm the only black person in the office. When all the investors come in, when everybody else come in, I'm the only one. I don't like how that looks. I don't like how that makes me
I
feel.
thought there was one other black guy.
In New York,
Oh.
who is never in the office. And they be like, oh, these one. I'm tired of being the only fucking one. One day when all the investors, everybody's in the office, they said, oh, we were all on a Zoom, right? In this tiny little corner at the bottom right here was our reflection. And for the first time that I had been working there, I was like, oh, damn. One little dark me.
That should tell the company something that they really.
But nobody else sees it. And it's like, I'm not finna tell y'all I have social and racial anxiety and that's why I don't want to come into the office.
Yeah.
I'm not telling y'all that. Because what are y'all gonna put a target on my back at that point? But
Intentionally in or unintentionally.
But if I'm not good at anything else, I'm good at shutting the fuck up and keeping my job. So
True.
I go to the office when it's mandatory, and you won't see me otherwise, because I just want to do my job and get paid to do the job that I do. I don't want to carry the weight of being the only black girl or excuse the fuck out of me, the only black woman at this company. I don't want to hold the weight of that, but I feel that way every time I have to go into the office.
But the weight is all on you if you are the only black woman in the company.
Yes, and I don't like
it's
that.
on you
I got you.
inadvertently,
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey. So
I have autoimmune disease, guys. It's type 1 diabetes, so I have to eat this snack because my sugar's dropping.
yes. So the whole point in that topic was just to highlight how, especially in women and black women, and even in the black community, period, because I have to say it's more than just women. It's predominantly women, but it's also in the men too.
Oh, for sure.
And how autoimmune disease is not correlated or reflected back to the environmental factors as well. It's not reflected back to your emotional health, your domestic health, right? It's only reflected back to, well, are you running 3 times a week? Are you eating 3 cups of vegetables every day, or are you eating Cheetos, for your breakfast, lunch, and dinner? It's that. And then it's also bumped up more so against standards that weren't created for us. It was created for the white man, not even a white woman. It was created for the white man, unfortunately. But that's a whole nother tangent we're not gonna go into. But so and then also, like we said, is a highlight how, because of the burdens that we carry, it shows up in the diseases of our organs. And I really just want all of y'all that are here today, listening or watching, to like really evaluate the aches and the pains. And I know I've mentioned this before, about random body aches and things like that. It's a lot of it stems from what we are ingesting. It's not just the vegetative ingesting. It's what we're listening to, what we're reading, the environmental factors, who are we around, what's going on around us. Like Alice said, what we're carrying on a day to day. It all makes a difference and it all matters. And as I can't remember if I've said it on the podcast yet or not, but like I tell my own clients and I tell family members and friends, what everything we ingest has to be deposited somewhere. It could be someone cursing you out, right? It could be something good even, but it has to be deposited somewhere. And so if you're holding on, someone makes you mad or angry, or they do something terrible towards you or whatever, and you're holding it on the inside, you're doing that right in the mic.
Don't take that out.
You holding that. Well, I was talking, so I can't. And you holding it and you're not getting rid of it. It has to be deposited somewhere. And that's why it gets deposited into those organs, and now we have these issues and debilitations with the liver, with the stomach, with the breast, with the lungs, with the the heart, and so on and so forth, because it has to be deposited somewhere. That's all cancer is. That's all disease is. But we've been groomed and trained and molded to shut up and hold it.
Black folks got a saying that stress will kill you. It's the silent killer.
And it is.
It is.
But they don't really, I don't think we really understand how true that is. Like, stress really does kill you. And it kills you slow.
So this is how I see stress. Imagine all of us are like cans of soda. Coke, Sprite, Dr. Pepper, whatever you like, right?
Sure.
We all cans of soda. We all have things inside of us that can go boom, but I think that stress is literally something that takes the can and shakes it up.
Yeah.
And the more you shake it up, when you open that soda, eventually it's just going to be flat.
Yeah.
No fizz, no life force, nothing left. Just goes to show you, like, we could all have different things inside of us. Like, you could have cancer cells, whatever. We could all have different levels of predisposition to these different diseases. But stress, I think, activates them all. Stress can activate something lying dormant in your body that you would have never experienced had you not been shaken up in,
right,
stress. And then environmental factors, which we can't really control any of that when it comes to diet and like your actual environment. Well, I mean, we can control what we eat, but like
to a certain degree.
Yes, exactly.
And even I just thought about too when you were talking just now, how certain diseases run in the family.
All y'all motherfuckers is stressing each other out. Y'all are causing the stress.
Your daddy and your granddaddy and your great granddaddy, they all died from stomach cancer.
And guess what? All of them
so you
had
telling me
double
for
lives.
the last 60 years, all the men have dealt with the exact same disease, and y'all don't see the pattern there? Y'all don't see the pattern how all these men went through the same thing on the day-to-day? was holding the same things on a day to day, the same habits and patterns on a day to day. And that's why that little cliche saying, what it say, the pattern or the trauma or the whatever stops here with me. We have to really get on that bandwagon, because if not, we just continuously passing it through generation through generation through generation. It's just like history, and this is how I know America's dumb, because history keeps repeating itself because we ain't learning from it. The patterns is there. They right there in our face, are they not?
Not enough people are reading.
Well, reading is fundamental, but the kids growing up now ain't literate, so I don't know. We just doomed at this point.
I'm not even saying that to be mean. I'm genuinely concerned that like some of the kids in school now can't read.
No, I was serious.
Yeah. I say I'm concerned because who's gonna be my doctor? My current doctors right now, when I'm like in my 60s, they not gonna be in practice no more.
It would have to be our peers that would have to be our doctor at that point.
They gonna need a doctor.
Well, let's hope some of them is still in good enough health that they still be working.
My bet is on the kids that went to private school. Let's pray.
Yeah, they have a
that
little
their
different
parents
standard.
Paid for them to learn and forced them to learn to read.
Yeah, because the problem now
I'm concerned. Everybody
the
can't
kids,
be an artist.
These children are extremely overstimulated. These children are overwhelmed and underwhelmed at the same time in the wrong areas, right? I asked a administrator yesterday or the day before. I said, "Hey, does your son, do they still give out
Somebody crazy in their head slacking me on a Sunday. Why I'm looking at it though? I'm sorry.
You see?
I'm sorry.
And I said, do they still give out, how we used to get agendas and planners in school? They don't give them that anymore. They don't even have books. They have iPads or tablets and laptops. That's it. How are we setting these children up and they can't write, like physically. They barely know how to write their name, and it looked like chicken scratch. Okay, we when we was in school, we had the penmanship hour and everything, and learned cursive.
Yeah, that's all I was about to say. This
they can't even sign cursive. Don't even know what cursive is.
I learned cursive in 2nd and 3rd grade.
Exactly. They can't read. They can't write. They can't add.
Maybe they need to bring back the text test.
But they know every rap song. They know
like
about all
grandmama.
the drugs. Okay, well, I'm grandmama today. Okay, I'm granddaddy. Antoine calls me granddaddy. I'm one of them today because I'm really concerned for the children, and even with my own nieces and nephews, I don't play that. I get them the educational, like things like if you're going to be on this phone or this tablet, I'm going to get you the educational game things so that you can play that and learn something. You're not about to be up here playing Fortnite and Call of Duty and all of that. And that's even overstimulating. These little kids learning how to shoot and they don't even know how to take their behind to the bathroom and wash their tail. You up here smelling like 30-day-old Funyuns and Cheetos, corn chips. Teeth falling out.
I can't look at you right now.
But you know how to do everything on this Fortnite, Call of Duty, Roblox, and whatever else they paying thousands of dollars for. And the parents is encouraging it and enabling it because they feeding the drug. It's a drug. Drugs just ain't the coke and the crack and the heroin and the weed or whatever else.
Listen, madam, you're not wrong.
I'm just saying I'm concerned for our children, y'all, because like she said, who gonna be my doctor? This is why I got a doctor on myself now. I need to learn everything I need to know now because what we gonna do in 30 years?
Madam,
these children don't know they head from their tail, literally.
Madam, you said all of that, and I would like to remind you that the CDC, the Center for Disease Control,
Yeah.
had to remind motherfuckers how to wash their
How to wash
hands
their
during the
hands.
pandemic.
Yeah.
And that goes amongst all socioeconomic backgrounds.
But I'm not surprised, because even when I was young and I would go in corporate buildings and I go to the restroom to use the restroom, we was raised to wash our hands.
Every time.
I come out the restroom stall and I'm going, and this, not gonna say who, but person
Susie Q.
Comes out and walks out. Now I just heard you drop the biggest deuce ever.
That's disgusting.
Then burnt my hair nose out, and I'd only been in here for 2 minutes. All I had to do was peace. I wasn't in here a long time.
That's disgusting.
And you couldn't even, didn't even run no water on them paws.
That is disgusting.
Took them paws and brushed that hair down and ran up down like this and walked right and touched the door handle and walked right out. I said, this is why I don't touch door handles, because they nasty. And that's when we was little. So these is the people that was raising our peers, but they children. And then they didn't have children. So they just passing around this nasty, diseased, unsanitary,
I just have to say
practices.
this. And it's going to be a small tangent. But we talked about the heavy stuff, and now we just finna roast people. And I'm okay with that.
I mean, we have other things to discuss, but yes. Roast them, because you do a good roast. I try not to, because I take it low and it ain't coming back up.
You take it low into the flow. To hell if you want to go.
All the way. All the way. That's why I be quiet, y'all, because...
Madam.
Talk to me, baby. What's up?
We could go down a long, long list of people and their unhygienic selves.
Mm-hmm.
Because there have been unhygienic people since the beginning of time. We all know the Moors had to show the Europeans how to wash their ass.
And their hands.
We all know this. So
And they head. How they believe they ain't need to wash their hair with creatures crawling out of it.
stop.
Okay. I just go ahead.
Stop. They talking about some Christmas party at the office tomorrow. I'm on PTO. I will not be in attendance.
Your tangent, ma'am?
I forgot.
Blessed be the name.
I'm hoping it come back. Because it was a good one.
Blessed be the
It
name.
was a good one.
So, in other lights, right? I know y'all been seeing that video going around, and I'm sure you've probably seen it too, about the young lady that was on another podcast, who said that marriage is sex work. And it's been a whole lot of hoorah about this. And I feel like this topic will probably come up later on in another podcast episode that we do too, but here we are now.
Is marriage sex work?
Yes.
The fuck?
She says that she believes that marriage is essentially like sex work. It's like prostitution. Because it's transactional and you're exchanging sex for stability of being provided for, as far as a house and food on the table.
First of all, that is one very, very specific narrative. We are not in the 1900s where you have to marry somebody to even have a fucking bank account. So back then, yes, it could be argued that it's sex work. But you know what? I bet this person is an A. They're in a very codependent relationship. Because guess what? If I get married to somebody, if we get divorced today or tomorrow, I wouldn't be married to somebody who needs me financially. And I wouldn't want him to be married to somebody who needs him financially. The only people who need to be dependent on a husband and a spouse are the children.
Until they are
because financial codependence Like this, if you're in an A, that's the easiest way for somebody to take advantage of you and financially abuse you. What the actual fuck?
I agree.
Now, back to her actual root claim that marriage is sex work. If you are married for a business transaction and y'all have it contracted that y'all only gonna have sex so many times
On Monday, Wednesday, and
Friday
Friday
at 7 p.m. Central, if that is what you do, then fine, but don't put that blanket statement on marriage, because some people get married because they want a lifelong partner to love, cherish, and take care of.
Okay, so let's go there. Do you personally think that you should marry for, and I had an aunt that said this to me too years ago, maybe when I was like 16, 17. She said, you don't never marry for love, you marry for benefits. And she said she married her, not current husband, but previous husband for benefits.
How old is your aunt?
I guess at the time she was in her 30s. Maybe late 30s, mid to late 30s.
So, and there is a very popular saying amongst women, my grandmother's age and my mother's age, that say marry for money, not for love. But it's
Which is the
because,
same thing.
yeah, but it's because
they had to.
they fucking had to.
Because again, like we said on the other episode, women couldn't even
Have a fucking
their
bank
own
account.
bank account or buy their own house and like be on their bank account by themselves until 1967.
So, like, as versus where marriage now,
That was less than 60 years ago, y'all.
marriage now is an option for women.
It's not not
not
a
necessary.
mandatory. It's not a necessity.
I'm not gonna say that when it comes to my well-being of having meals and shelter, a man is not gonna come between me and the consistency of that. Back in the day, a man could literally be, oh, am I gonna have shelter? Am I gonna have a hot place to lay my head, somewhere to wash my ass, some food to eat? You know, like those things. We're not in that. So to say that marriage is sex work when women have the option to get married at this day and age, I feel is a bit insulting. Sex is a major part of a relationship if both people are interested in sex, but it should not even be closely to what makes or break a relationship.
It's not a relationship at that point. It's strictly a transaction.
Exactly. So like if you're getting married to somebody who you don't like that much and y'all just have to consummate it, more power to you. I hope you get several checks and tax benefits.
And that's why I say you can love somebody all day long, but do you actually like them? Because if you don't like the person that you're with, when times get hard, when that money dry up, like you saying, or they ain't got it to give that day or whatever, are you willing to stay or are you looking for your next best thing? Or are you ready to end it because you're not getting that whatever benefit?
But that's a firm, like we have to go back to the basic of it. I'm not going to be with somebody, like, I'm sorry, but certain women, since marriage is an option, they're being very picky, and I'm very glad about that, because
as they should be.
Because you can't just have a good job in a nice house now. And
you gotta have substance.
You need to have substance, because guess what? I have my own nice house and my own nice and my own set of transportation to get places. I'm very offended that she said marriage is sex work, because maybe her marriage is, but the marriage that I hope to one day have will not be rooted in sex. As someone who even likes sex and engaging in physical affection, I do not think that a marriage should be reduced to sex work. And I even said this to somebody. They asked me, do you think, they were asking me about the whole 50-50 shit, or what they think men should pay versus women should pay. And I was like, I can't.
That whole 50-50 thing.
I'm not even finna go there. But what I said was, because they were more so coming from an aspect of who pays for dates or who does shit like that. I was like,
we should do for each other. And I don't care if you with a man. Listen, I don't care if it's man, woman, woman.
Non-binary, whatever.
All of those, more power to the community. But it doesn't matter who you with. We're two humans.
And so that's what I say. I say I can't imagine two people who were present for the right reasons and who really love each other wouldn't want to be generous to each other
in whatever way.
in whatever
Because you
way.
can be generous in
In
different
multiple ways.
Like, you're generous as far as, like, and I'm not saying you're not generous in other areas, but just trying to get off the top of my head. You're generous, like, she's generous as far as, like, she's going to physically take care of you, like, nurture you.
Yeah.
I'm going to rub your, like, when I had surgery, I'm going to rub your hand. I'm going to massage it. Let me get the oils. Your feet hurt. I'm going to rub, are you hungry? Let me get in here and cook, whatever. Not even, are you hungry? Hey, I'm going to cook right quick for us. What would you like? Like, you're
Taco
generous
Tuesday.
in that way. It's very much, how can I show up for you? Is normally always your question. And I feel like that should always be the question for people in any type of relationship. And don't
Friendships, relationships, family.
And that's what I was gonna say. And don't be confused, because we've had the topic on what relationships are. Relationships are not just romantic; they're platonic, they're friendships, they're familial. Their business, so on and so forth.
I'm that way in all of my relationships.
And that was my point in saying that.
Across the board.
And it's very true. How and I think I am too. We are very much two people that are like,
but then
how can
I also show up
you?
because, like, not to, brag or harp on my boyfriend, but he showed me how to make some money. So why wouldn't I return the favor? Like, I can pay for nice dates. I get him nice gifts. He keeps me, like, it's very much. When you said that it could be reciprocated, when you say it could be reciprocated, and it's not always dollar for dollar or something for something, but it's not tit for tat, but things can be equal. I'm not stingy with my love, my affection.
And that's the difference between equity and equality. Because equality is going to keep a tally of, okay, she spent $500 on Tuesday. I'm only going to spend $500 on Saturday. No.
Instead of just trying to plan something very nice and thoughtful. Like, I know exactly what my mom would like or would like to do for her 60th birthday. I could pick out a perfect day for her because I know who she is. I know what she likes, so on and so forth. If it costs $1 or versus it costs $10,000, as long as it's something thoughtful that she will enjoy, I know my mom will be thankful.
Well, you see what I did in September, so I understand.
So you see, it's about the effort. And of course, we live in the real world where things are physical. So just to be quite frank, I'm not dating nobody broke. I'm not broke. I'm not dating somebody broke. But I'm not going to be like, that's the people who's like, oh, you switched up on me. No, I already said I wasn't dating somebody broke. Now, if we happen to both go broke and we're together, we just two broke motherfuckers in love. But what I'm saying is I'm not going to, like, some people have these really ridiculous standards and, like, whether you're marrying for business or if you're marrying for love, right? I would like a man who goes out and get it. And if you go out and get it, that's going to be reflected in your financial status. I go out and get it. And I take care of myself, and I take care of myself well. I don't want to be with somebody that's not going out and getting it. Period.
Yeah. And I think those are standards that you have to know for yourself. I think at bare minimum, we both need to be able to take care of ourselves.
You need to be.
That's like the bare minimum. You need to be able to. You need to be able to
put the bridge right there. So we can show the people.
You need to be able to stand and stand.
This is an H,
right? That's what you need.
Independent.
I need to be able to take care of my bills, and I can put some food in my mouth. You need to be able to take care of your bills, put some food in your mouth. From that, we can work everything else. But if you can't do the bare minimum, we ain't going nowhere fast at all.
Or nowhere together.
We're nowhere slow.
Or nowhere together.
Exactly. So, I think that should probably be the bare minimum for any type of relationship, for sure. Because if not, you get that gap where you might be here and they might be here, and you might be still going up here, but they ain't going nowhere. And now it feels like either they're pulling you down or you're leaving them behind. It just depends on perspective of the two people. And ain't nobody got time for that. And I think that's even how you get back to that perspective of marriage is sex work. Huh?
What you mean? Like, sex work is not about the sex worker's pleasure. If
Right.
we're married, we're coming together to enjoy each other. So how can you
And
reduce
to build
something as
something.
intimate of an act as sex to sex work? Like, no, we're here because we want to be, not because we're codependent upon each
Not
other
because
for
we have to be.
shelter.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're here because we want to be. I'm not marrying someone out of necessity. And I feel like if someone says that in today's age, you just don't want to work or be self sufficient on your
And there are a
own.
lot of people out there like
And,
that.
and there's nothing wrong with that, but call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Just to say that you value traditional marriages and you want to be a stay at home wife, a stay at home mom, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but don't reduce marriage to sex work because there's a very limited point of view of it.
I agree. Yeah, that was wild. So lastly, I saw a post. I think her name is Kira J, and she was discussing how we kind of like at least our lives and ourselves. Essentially, that's is I guess it's a way of saying like we really just kind of a lot of people or some people settle for in certain areas and maybe their whole life, but in certain areas.
I'm gonna give somebody an example.
Okay.
I'm gonna give a few.
Okay. And so the whole thing is, where are you at leasting in your life? Like, oh well, and even in abusive, like right, that would be my example. In abusive situations.
At least he doesn't he put his hands on me.
But he paid all the bills this month.
So you can't go nowhere. He telling you
No,
can't
not even you can't go nowhere. It's like, oh yeah, he might beat me and slide me up and down these stairs, but he do pay the mortgage. So, at least he paid the bills. Huh?
I feel like at least it's not of other people, but when you said what are you doing at least in your life, I'm taking that like, okay, I'm not showing up as, for example, I'm not showing up as a great friend or a daughter or whatever. At least I showed up though. At least I showed up, even though I didn't show up in a way that's helpful. At least I showed up.
Yeah, that is another way to look at it. I was coming from a more so like, since we was talking about the black women and the black community and all the things that we, spoke about on the other spectrum of at least.
What others are doing?
No, what we're doing too.
Oh.
You choosing to, that's why I gave that example. You're choosing to stay in a situation that's literally harming you, breaking you down, killing you every day, slowly, by bit. But at least the mortgage was paid. At least he paid my car note, or she paid my car note this month and last month and the month before that. You ain't going for it.
No, because you should at least be able to take care of yourself.
Right.
At least.
But see, that's when we have to acknowledge that taking care of yourself is more than just financial. It's mental. It's emotional.
Yes, but
it's
nobody.
Spiritually.
I'm not even gonna say that because some people are held in mental cages. As I was about to say, like, at least if no one's financially abusing you, can get the fuck up and go. Don't ever. That's one thing as women. I'm very, very adamant about us always having our own.
I mean, it always boils down to a mental cage, no matter if it's physical, mental, sexual. The reason they're able to cage you is because they control the mind. If you can control a mind, it's easy to put a bird in a cage that has an open door.
Some people are not birds in cages, like, because I've known several women, and it's sad, but like some women are literally just victims of financial abuse, and they cannot leave. Mm-mm. Don't let no man. Don't let anybody have any precedence over your money.
Over your essence. Period.
Nothing.
Not just your money, but of your essence. Period.
But especially not your resource. Because at the end of the day, money is just a tool, but it's the tool for how this physical manifestation of the world is ran on. We all need it. We need it for shelter, for food. Don't let anybody take your basis away for yourself. I've heard some stories.
Yeah, and that's why I say the whole essence, because you could be the breadwinner, and that person got you so
Psychologically
bent, you just giving away your money. So it's like they controlling anyway. You know what I'm saying? Taking the because you're willing, but that's a different type of manipulation. But it's real and it happens today. You know.
Long story short, y'all, because we got to wrap up and sign off. From the beginning, stress is the enemy.
Amen.
Stress is the enemy. And whatever you have to do to eliminate stress that does not harm other people, you should do so. That does not harm yourself and other people, you should do so. This is only going to be better for your health.
Do it safely, but start making a move. You have to start somewhere. As long as you
whether that's boundaries,
start putting the momentum in, it will continue to flow. But you can't just lay there and die. And I mean that figuratively. Well, maybe literally for some folks, but
hope not.
I hope not, you know. But figuratively, metaphorically, you can't just lay down and die and not actually do anything. Even if you just thinking it, put some action behind it. Right? Faith without works is dead.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Faith without works is dead, folks. We can't be praying and asking higher power, whatever you call or believe in, to do this and this and that, give me this and this and that, and think you're just going to sit back, Cadillac, kick your feet up and put your hands behind your head.
It don't work.
That's not how it works.
And in this day of instant gratification, please, my people, the day you sow the seed is not the day you eat the fruit.
Hello. And also, right, real quick, the day you sow that seed is not the day you eat the fruit. But also remember that there is a season for every fruit. Some fruit is only good and ripe in a certain season. It might be one season out of the 4.
Mm-hmm.
It might be 2 out of the 4. It might be a couple weeks out of one season of the 4.
So what we're saying is you work hard, you put the effort in, and when you do that, it's just a matter of the right timing.
Right. Exactly.
That's all.
Respect the process. You know exactly where that come from if you watched our last episode.
The previous
if you haven't,
episode.
please go back, watch it, check it out, show it some love. Make the investment in the book so you can pass that on and really take some gems from it, because it really did have a lot of gems. But all in all, y'all got to respect that process. And like Alice said, the day you sow that seed is not the day you bear that fruit. But know that every seed, and I talked to Quee about this last night too, or yesterday too. Every seed that is sown, and even the ones you don't realize you're sowing, will always be reaped. So be careful what you're sowing, because you can sow bad seeds, right? You can sow some toxic seeds, some crusty seeds, and it's going to reap. So be careful what you're sowing, and what that looks like is what you're feeding your man spirit, what you ingesting, what you seeing, what you hearing, what you're speaking, what you're thinking, you know, even what you're eating, the whole 9 yards, where you frequenting, who you got frequenting around you, the whole 9 yards. You have to take that into account and know that it is umpteenth important to really be picky about what you're feeding yourself. And just because you don't think that it's harming you, or it's not that bad, it's not really doing anything, it's not really hurting me right now. Well, of course it don't seem like that, because the seed is just being planted right now. And like Alice said, you're not gonna see the reaping of that, or the tree that's bearing, until later. But by the time you see it later, it might be too late, right? It might be too late.
All seeds
So
have
just
good
because-
and bad consequences.
Right. And so just because you don't see see what is reaping now because you want that instant gratification, or it don't make sense to you right now because you need it right now and you need to see it right now, don't mean that is giving what it needs to give. Okay. But
And with that being one of our last episodes of the year, think about the seeds you want to sow in 2025.
and think about the seeds and the roots that you need to pull up before you get to 2025, so that you're not continuing a harvest of some terrible and nasty and unfruitful seeds.
Unfruitful. That's a good word for it.
Yeah,
Unfruitful.
unfruitful. That might be the title of this episode. Unfruitful seeds. Okay.
With love, peace, and blessings.
Love, peace, and blessings to all of our folks out there, all skins. We love you. We appreciate you for hanging out with us this year since April of this year, 2024, when we first launched. It has been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure sitting alongside you, my friend. I love you
Likewise.
for being here and going on this journey with me. It has definitely been a prophecy that needed to happen and come to fruition. This was a seed that was planted like 5 years ago, and it's just now starting to reap. Live example, y'all. We hope that y'all have a fabulous new year.
Holiday season.
Calendar new year, that is, because technically the real new year don't start till March, but that's a whole nother conversation. A new season. We in Capricorn season. And we just had the winter solstice as well yesterday.
What's that? Yesterday on the 20th? Yep.
21st yesterday.
Yep. Shortest day of the year.
And the longest night.
Yep.
We want you to tap in with us, give us some feedback, anything you want to discuss more, hear more of, any questions. I think in 2025 we'll start taking questions and actually answering them here live.
I can't wait for
on
that.
the podcast. So we want to hear from you, please, please, please.
Because I'm a nutcase.
Those that have tapped in with us and followed us, we thank you for the follows. I wanted to say, I believe we have hit. I don't want to lie. Let me make sure.
Oh, tell me the numbers, girl.
Yes, you know what I was pulling
Tell
up.
me the numbers.
We have surpassed 200 subscribers. I thought we were at 200. We have surpassed 200 subscribers. We are now at 211.
Okay.
211 subscribers. So we thank you.
Check us out.
And continue to help us get on the map, and we're going worldwide, baby. I am Madam.
And Dallas.
This is Grit and Grace Podcast, where we have raw, soulful conversations.
And hold the salmonella.
All the salmonella. We see you next year in 2025.